Welcome back to Editor's Roundtable. We spoke about the banking sector, we spoke about the auto sector. Now let's turn our attention to the telecom sector. It's not often that we talk about the telecom companies because there are just 2.5 of them right now. But I want to put on board how the performance has been in the quarter gone by. For starters, and that's the big takeaway, revenue growth for the telecom companies, the top three. We're talking about Bharti's India wireless revenues, Reliance Jio and Vodafone Idea. Revenues for these three players has declined to a near 2-year low. Revenue growth was a modest 1% on a quarter-on-quarter basis and just up 10% on a year-on-year basis. And this is the slowest growth that we've seen in the last 7 quarters. The reason for that is a lack of an ARPU uptick. So the last time when we had a big price increase in the prepaid category was in November and December of 2021, which basically means 1.5 years ago. The entire benefit of that 20% price increase has flowed through already. And this quarter, the average revenue per user for all these telecom companies have been absolutely flat on a quarter-on-quarter basis. So revenue growth has slowed down, and if revenue growth needs to pick up from here on, we need to see a price increase, the prepaid 4G tariff increase. Amongst the three players, this time it's Reliance Jio, which has clocked in a slightly better growth at 1.7% growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis. But year-on-year, Reliance Jio and Bharti's numbers look fairly comparable. The second big takeaway is the capex spend by Vodafone Idea, and that has dwindled just down to 3,360 crore. This is the lowest spend in terms of Vodafone's capex since its merger in 2018-2019. And Vodafone Idea's capex spend is about 7 to 12% of its peers. It's about 7% of Reliance Jio's capex and about 12% of Bharti Airtel's India capex, which basically then raises the question is that if we have such a sharp divergence in capex between one player, Vodafone Idea, and the other, that's Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio, will we see an acceleration in market share loss? Will pairs like Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio further gain market share? They anyway have been over the last many quarters now. The market share gains have been quite phenomenal, close to about 2% each for Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio over the last 2 years. But is this something which is going to continue? So that's been the big takeaway from the telecom space. One, the revenue growth has slowed down in Q4 for the Indian mobile wireless space for the lowest that we've seen in the last 2 years. And second, Vodafone Idea's capex is at the lowest level since its merger, and it's just a fraction, 10% of what peers like Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio have done in terms of capex, which raises the prospect of more market share losses. Gautam, any thoughts, Bharti Airtel, it was considered to be a darling. Everyone recognized the kind of potential Bharti Airtel has. Yet the stock has not delivered the kind of returns. There are so many target prices which are in excess of 1,000 rupees for Bharti Airtel. How do you see the next 1-2 years? Is this the kind of company which on an aggregate will just give you 8-10% type of share return?
So Reema, the problem with this sector is the lack of meaningful ROE and free cash flow generation. I mean, hardly they generate free cash flow beyond a point because every now and then there is a big capex lined up. Your technology is evolving, so they have to be one step ahead of that. And then there is a massive competitive intensity, and then there are different regulatory headwinds also which keeps cropping up. So if you look at the ARPU journey for last 3-4 years, it's hardly done anything, right? So if the sector has to do well, you at least have to get some semblance of consistent ROEs. Otherwise, it will remain cyclical, It will depend on a quarter-to-quarter kind of a journey, where if the company has taken a price hike, if the discounts have reduced, you see a rally, and then again you fall back to the same old ways because it's a heavily leveraged balance sheet for all the companies in that sector. That's why the weightage in index and portfolio you will always see will be very limited.
I think just 2.5% in terms of a Nifty weightage.
Yeah,
from Bharti.
absolutely.
But Gautam, I want to ask you about one of your big calls, and that was ITC. I think in the month of January and February, you went around saying that ITC should be a big portfolio bet, and the stock has done very well. Year to date, 33% higher. In the last 12 months, it's gained close to about 60%. But our colleague Mangalam put up quite a compelling case, saying that is it time now to start looking at HUL? One, because HUL has underperformed ITC over this period of year to date or last 1 year. There's a new CEO coming on board. The kind of discount ITC used to trade at versus HUL has come down quite, significantly. And plus, we're hoping for a rural recovery. So, do you think the best of ITC may be behind and it's time to look at HUL?
I would think ITC can still give you compounding returns because the P at which it was trading at a year and a half back at about 15, 16 times, 6%, 5-6% dividend yield, that early sort of low-hanging fruit has been plucked. Now you're talking about a 23, 24 P, which by the way is still very lucrative given where the sector is still trading at 50, 45 times. Right, but large part of the re-rating seems done, and here on you will see compounded returns, which will be backed by underlying earnings growth, which by the way is still looking very good at about 15-16% CAGR. This year, when we started the year, we were projecting a 17% earnings growth. ITC has done 26%. Yeah. So throughout the quarter, throughout the year, you've seen earnings getting upgraded. Relatively, I would still feel that ITC can keep giving you market-beating returns at least for another year. Within the sector, possibility of HUL now outperforming ITC, it opens up because commodity prices have come off and rural consumption we do expect to improve from here, and not just lever. I think possibly Godrej Consumer, Britannia, some of those names can also start performing because they've been range-bound for some time now.
Okay, well, with that, it is a wrap. Thank you so much, Gautam, for joining in. And thank you to all our viewers for staying tuned into Editors Roundtable. Have a great weekend. See you again on Monday.